Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Marshall County High School. On behalf of our administration, coaches, and student athletes, and the entire community, we're proud to host this year's Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Tonight, we honor and celebrate the outstanding individuals who have left a lasting mark on the Marshall County athletics. These athletes, coaches, and contributors represent the very best of what it means to wear the orange and blue. Commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and the excellence both on and off the floor. The Hall of Fame is more than just recognition of the past success. It's a reminder to our current and future athletes of the standards that has been set and the legacy that they too will one day leave behind. We're excited to share this special event with you as we remember these moments, achievements, and stories that have shaped the proud tradition of Marshall County High School athletics. Thank you for joining us as we celebrate these remarkable inductees and their contributions to the history of our program. Now I'm going to turn it over to the voice of the Marshall and a 2013 Hall of Fame inductee, Jeff Waters.
I think they were going to have to drag me over here. I got started talking to the guys from that '98 football team that I remember so well, and Bridget and Justin and Daniel and Nolan and everybody that has meant a lot to me personally throughout all of this. But I thought they were going to have to just drag me in over here to make sure that we got started on time. I could have stayed over there and talked to all of those folks for the rest of the night. I know Superintendent Billy Thorpe is here. Mr. Thorpe, would you stand up, please, and be recognized? Our principal here at the high school, Shannon Solomon. Miss Solomon, where did you get off to? Would you stand up? Thank you. I know we have any of the other school board members or anybody here? Before I bring on our guest speaker, I was thinking earlier today about how all of this got started. And it was a wonderful group of people, some of whom are no longer with us, and I know, like a lot of people, I miss them dearly. But about 17 years ago, we had an idea, we had a dream. We didn't really know how to get it started, but we had a lot of good people that kind of took the reins and got this thing off the ground. People like Bill Morgan and Barney Thweet and Rick Leeper and Dennis Smith and Donna Perry, Beverly Solomon, Jeff Stokes, who was the athletic director here at the high school at that time, Vicki English, who has been with us from the very beginning, the secretary, and can't say enough about the work that she does, Dennis Joseph, Dennis Faust, Ray Bargee. I hope I haven't left anybody out, but I remember some of those initial meetings, how do you do this? And it was the guidance of those people and their ideas and their leadership that set all of this in motion. And I know that our guest speaker is a little bit limited on time, really needs no introduction. She is an inductee into the Marshall County Athletic Hall of Fame, a tremendous student athlete here at Marshall County High School and then at Murray State. I remember a number of years ago, there was a coach hiring within Region 1 in boys basketball, and I happened to be familiar with this coach, and he was taking over a program that had not had a lot of success in the few years previous. And somebody asked me at that time, because they knew that I knew him a little bit from his previous stops, and they said, what does that mean for this program or for that program and for this region? And I said, it's a game changer. I said, they'll win a regional championship with him as the head coach, and they did. And when Rochelle was hired at Murray State, I said the same thing. It's a game changer for Murray State, and it certainly has been. Missouri Valley Conference Championship. If you've watched this program, the way she has built it steadily and with that great commitment and passion, and with kids that make that university and that community very, very proud because of not only what they do on the court, but what they do off the court as well. But can't say enough about our guest speaker and what she has done in her coaching career. She built Murray High into a powerhouse, a state powerhouse. and then has done the same thing at Murray State University. And it's my great pleasure to bring on Rochelle Cadwell Turner, head coach of the Murray State Racers.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be back at Marshall County High School for the celebration of the finest players, coaches, and contributors, all of whom are responsible in one way or another for making this glorious chapters to one of the greatest athletic schools and sports programs in history of the rich tradition that we have in Kentucky. The celebration should also be about the devoted Marshall County fans who support the young men and women who wear the orange and blue. Because of the energy of the entire Marshall County family that helps provide us incredible experiences for our athletes. When I think back to my time as being a Lady Marshal, now equipped with the knowledge and perspective of the last 35 years, I realized that we lived in somewhat of a screenplay. To be able to compete at the highest level in the state with your closest friends, being watched and supported by the greatest fans and the entire community. We have had something here at Marshall County that just isn't and doesn't happen many places. Playing basketball for the Lady Marshals changed my life, and it helped me on a course to live out my dreams in the game. When I arrived at Marshall County High School as a freshman, Coach Beth and the Lady Marshals had won 7 consecutive regional championships and 2 state championships. They were the standard in Western Kentucky and could go toe-to-toe with anyone in the Commonwealth. By my junior year, we had added 2 more regional titles and a trip to the Final Four in the Sweet 16. However, as the next year approached, number 10 in the first region championship streak was ahead of us. We had taken significant losses to graduation, and there was a very large blue and gray object rapidly approaching in the background, the Graves County Lady Eagles. To that point, Carol Parker, Mary Taylor, and Stephanie Gossam were the dominant players in this region, and luckily for us, they had worn the orange and blue. But forward Christy Henry was on the scene, and she was athletic, fast, and the best player by far in the region. But they not only had her, they had a great front court and back court and lots of depth. It was clear that they were going to be a problem. And they came to our house that year, and when they beat us in the regular season, they proved just how tough it was going to be. After they won that game, they celebrated on the star in the jump circle. That would not be forgotten. But before we could talk revenge, we had to deal with the challenges before us. My husband loves to tell a story about understanding what Marshall County Lady Marshal basketball was all about, especially after that particular loss. He's from Callaway County, I know, boo, but he was very aware of the standards that we had for our program. And he said, there is understanding what it means to be a Lady Marshal, and then there is true understanding of what it meant to be a Lady Marshal. He tells this story because we'd only been dating for a few weeks, and he happened to be at the game that we lost. Now, he tells it because I blocked all of that out of my memories because it was a bad one. But he said as we sat in his car outside the gym that I cried, and he was kind of at a loss. I mean, you have an almost undefeated record, you're ranked in the state, you lost 1 game so far, what's the deal? And his words, not mine, because I don't remember it, he said, I looked at him with no shortage of desperation and said, we can't be the team that loses the streak. And we weren't. When the regional championship game rolled around, it was the Lady Marshals versus the Lady Eagles, and it was in our house. The place was a fire marshal special, standing room only. And I know that's hard for some of you guys to understand because the crowds aren't what they used to be. But in 1990, there was a waiting list a mile long for the chairback seats in Reed Condor Gymnasium, and believe it or not, people even left the seats to the family members in their wheel. I mean, it's a very tough ticket to get at that time. But there was energy around the program, and that energy plus high standards set by Coach Beth and the program, we could not lose, and we didn't. I'm not sure what was sweeter that night, winning the regional championship our junior year or just not losing the streak. But you just can't get that feeling enough. The majority of their squad in 90 and 91, but best of my memories, we were a lot younger than Graves County that year due to some more losses in graduation. And everybody expected it to be their year to break through. All the sports reporters, WPSD, everybody knew that this was the year the streak was going to be broken. And when they came again and beat us in the regular season, it almost seemed inevitable. And if they didn't think that that was the key, us losing in the championship game of the district tournament at Callaway County was a sure thing that there's no way the Lady Marshals are going to win that 11th straight title. I can only remember sitting there thinking, we're going to draw Graves County the first round, and it's going to be a matchup first round. But thankfully, that didn't happen, and my senior season regional championship game, again, Lady Marshals versus Lady Eagles. It was at the Eagles Nest this time. Every Marshall County fan was in the stands, every Graves County Eagle fan was in the stands, and everybody from around Western Kentucky was there because they wanted to see what was going to happen. Well, I'll tell you what happened. It was the best our team had played in the last 2 seasons. We dismantled that Graves County team from tip to buzzer, and it was the most one of the most dominating performances that we had ever had. The convoy back to Draftonville that night was one of the sweetest and most satisfying moments of my career. The streak lived on, and we had all done our jobs and kept our standard right where it belonged, at the top. Those battles with Graves County are signature in my experience, but there were very many great things and special things about being a Lady Marshal. The fans were amazing. The Crazy Ladies, also Hall of Famers and rightfully so, embodied what all fans were: truly devoted, always engaged. When we went to the Louisville Invitational Tournament or the state tournament or just an away game, our community was all about last one out, turn off the lights, because everybody was going to the game. I can still see all the little girls on the court waiting for autographs after the game, and I can still hear all the faithful coverage from WCBL. But when you play 4 years of high school and you go to 4 state tournaments, that's very special. But when you get to do it in front of such overwhelming and unyielding support, that's storybook stuff. My Lady Marshal experience was also wonderful because of my teammates. So many of them were among my best friends during that time in my life. But we were also part of a larger sisterhood of Lady Marshal basketball. Who better could understand what it was like to carry that banner, to deal with the expectations of our program? Only your teammates. It was great to have them to share that with, and it was even better to share the victories and celebrations our hard work produced. That experience would not have been possible without our coaches, although I'm quite sure I didn't appreciate them enough at the time. As I enter my 30th year in coaching, I can promise you that I understand fully what they went through back then. Lisa Jarrett, Terry Futrell, and Celeste Ellington were critical to our success, both as they coached us and as they supported us through it all. And then there's the legend, Hall of Famer Howard Beth. If you had told me in 1990 that I was just like Coach Beth, I probably would have wanted to punch you in the face. And There were plenty of times after practice and during games, we all definitely wanted to punch him in the face. But today, I would be very honored and very proud to be just like my head coach. My career in basketball would not be what it is today without Coach Beth's impact and influence. Under his leadership is where I learned to set a standard of excellence for my program. It's where I learned that hard work is always worth it, no matter the outcome. It is where I saw firsthand that if you work, you prepare, and you perform, you can always be proud no matter what. Well, that's not to say the outcome doesn't matter, because this is also the place that I learned not only how to win, but to expect to win. Coach Beth also taught us that being excellent was an everyday, every aspect of your life approach. Everything mattered. Who you were in the classroom, who you were on the court, and who you were in the community always mattered. There are many reasons why excellence is rare, but the most important reason is this: few are prepared to do what it takes to be excellent. We learned that lesson here at Marshall County. It became what I wanted for myself, and it became what I wanted for my basketball programs. I cannot thank Coach Beth enough for instilling that sort of drive and discipline into my life. As it turned out, Coach Beth wasn't done shaping my career after I graduated from Marshall County. After finishing my degree at Murray State, I chose to start my teaching and coaching career at Murray High. I know, boo. I will tell you now, though, that for a very long time, it was my dream to be the head coach of the Lady Marshals when Coach Beth retired. But until that happened, I wanted to help build a program like this one I'd experienced here at Marshall County. I have to tell a quick story about how strong the ties are in the program before I go any further about how competing against the Lady Marshals shaped my career. My parents are here tonight, Don and Frida Larimer. I can't thank them enough for the support they have given me throughout my career. I definitely would not be where I am today without them. And I have always been able to count on their support, except for two things. When I shot 6 of 11 from the free throw line, and when we played the Lady Marshals for the first time in my career. Needless to say, they didn't sit in the Murray High section that night. They didn't sit or wear orange and blue, but they definitely didn't have on black and gold. My grandparents, Mary and Arlie Larimer, were some of the biggest Marshall County fans you could find. You also could not find them in the Murray High section that night. But I suppose I might as well tell on myself as well, because that year when I would go scout the Lady Marshals, I would stand up during the starting lineups and clap. It drove my husband crazy. But orange and blood runs deep, and that's just how much this place had meant to our family. I was fortunate enough to win 460 games and 4 regional championships at Murray High, with the first of those titles coming at the end of '97 season against the Lady Marshals. It was an amazing experience for my young women in our program. Murray High had never won a regional championship, but I always hated that it put me on the wrong side of the program that had raised me. What I can tell you, though, is what we built at Murray was based on, driven by the blueprint of Coach Beth provided for me at Marshall County. The lessons I learned here became the lessons that I taught to my Lady Tigers. And while the Lady Marshals would regain the upper hand against us many times, often in convincing fashion over the seasons to come, we kept building our championship culture throughout the education and experience that I had gained here. My kids at Murray understood what it took to play team first winning basketball because I knew what I had in the recipe that we needed, because we had tasted that success here at Marshall County year after year. Soon enough, our young women at Murray High expected to win. For us, the first step was a small school All-A championship. We won 13 of those regional titles, much is the same of the run of dominance the Lady Marshals had in the first region. And we eventually won an All-A state title. As our culture and talent grew, we were eventually able to reach a pair of Sweet 16 Final Fours, and when we reached that rarefied air, I was once again able to call upon my experiences I had gained while at Marshall County. Those magical March runs for us at Murray High in 2016, 2017 led to something quite unexpected, the opportunity to become the women's basketball coach at Murray State University. It has become a dream come true in many ways, but it was not a conscious dream. When I began teaching and coaching, I wanted to be the most impactful coach and teacher that I could be at Murray High, with an eye on hoping to return to Marshall County eventually. But I became very proud of the program we had built at Murray, and it was enough. I wanted to build there what Coach Beth had built here, and I really thought that is where my career would end. But God has His plan, and the next step in my path was Murray State. But that meant inheriting a program that was a far cry from what we had known here at Marshall County and from what I was experiencing at Murray High. What do you do when you find yourself far from the championship culture you have known, the culture you want to experience again? You turn back to your roots. You do the only thing you know, which is the way Coach Beth built his program here, the way I built my program at Murray High. You work, you prepare, and you perform. You collect great people, people of character and integrity, great coaches, talented players, and winners. There were days when I didn't think we would ever be able to cut down the nets together again. But God's path is His path. And perhaps most importantly, His time is His time. I mentioned earlier that I learned here that the hard work is its own reward. We did the work and we did it the right way. And even after moving into the Missouri Valley Conference, a league much harder than our previous home in the OVC, my young women at Murray State got to experience last March what we experienced so many times at Marshall County. They lifted that championship trophy together, and they cut down those nets. There's no experience in sports like it. There is nothing equal to experiencing success with the people you love, with the people you have worked so hard to achieve a shared goal. It's the pinnacle of sports, and it is part of the essence of my life. And I am so very grateful to have learned how to achieve it here at Marshall County. Sports is, in so many ways, a distraction from the more challenging and serious aspects of our lives. But it is, without question, a platform that can deliver the changing lessons to the young men and women willing to receive them. I will forever be grateful to Coach Beth and all of my coaches for passing these lessons on to me. And it will be my responsibility to share these critical elements with the young women in my care as long as my career continues. I am very proud to be a part of the Athletics Hall of Fame here at Marshall County, and I offer my congratulations to all of the deserving inductees here tonight. This is a night to celebrate you and all you have accomplished, and I hope that each of you look back on your time here with the same joy that such reflection gives me. I also hope that all of our current and future Marshall County athletes understand the great gift this can be. 4 years of an invested experience will yield a lifetime of impact, just as it has for me. Thank you, and God bless.
Well, outstanding. Thank you, Coach. And good luck. She told me they're getting ready for repeat championship, right? One special guest, speaking of Murray State, that I neglected to introduce a moment ago, the Director of Athletics at Murray State University is a guest here tonight. Nico Yanko, if you would stand up, please. Thank you for being here. I'd also like to pass along before we get to the inductees very quickly. One special presentation. Vicki English, would you come up here for just a moment, please? She didn't know this was going to happen. This is one of the sweetest ladies you'll ever meet in your life, and we bug her all the time. Vicki, can you do this? Vicki, can you do that? Vicki, can you call this person? Can you take care of this? And she always says, yes, I'll be glad to, with a smile on her face. Vicki, this is for you. Thank you very much. A round of applause for Vicki. And the guy that works for her, Athletic Director Mike Johnson. Also want to thank Larry Witt, catering the wonderful meal from Magic Valley Barbecue. A huge thank you. They really pulled our fat out of the fire to Katie Fagan and the business and marketing class here at the high school. We want to thank them for the tremendous work that they did. Also thanks to Chad Darnell and his students in the media arts program. By the way, this ceremony will be available on their YouTube channel, I believe as soon as tomorrow. Also to Benton Country Club, where the golf outing will be tomorrow, Snap Fitness, Dennis Faust, and our students that are going to help present to the inductees tonight. They are Ethan Morgan, Ava Moore, and Daniel Walker. And I would certainly be remiss if I didn't thank our corporate sponsor, Benton Insurance. Thank you to Benton Insurance for their wonderful support to make all of this possible here this evening. Before we move on to the inductees, let me introduce very quickly, if you'll stand up when I call your name, the board members for the Marshall County Athletic Foundation. Our president is Danae Shelton. Danae is like Vicki, everything with a smile. Yes, I'll take care of that. I'll be glad to do that. Smiles and takes care of it. Danae Shelton is our president. Jason Darnell, who I don't think is here tonight. Rick Leeper, Bill Morgan, Monty Collins, Steve Fisk, Dax Myhand, Donna Perry, Mike Johnson, Brent Lovett, Jeff Stokes, Steve Smith, Travis Thompson, and Chase York. All right. Now, we started this, I think the last induction ceremony. We have some of our outstanding students here at the high school to help make the presentation for the inductees. We'll start with our contributors, two wonderful individuals and two very deserving, but at this time, I'd like to ask one of our students here at the high school, Ava Moore, to come on and present our first inductee of the evening. Ava?
Our first inductee is Miss Donna Perry. Donna Perry was head coach of the Marshall County Lady Marshals for just 2 seasons, 1979 and 1980. Her record during those 2 seasons was 42-5, a 94% rate. Her 1980 team ended the season with a 20-2 record and 18-0 in the regular season and was ranked number 1 in the state for much of that season. In the 1960s and early 1970s, she was a health and physical education teacher, girls track coach, and cheerleading sponsor. She was the assistant coach of the first high school girls basketball team in 1974 under Gene Brooks. She continued as an assistant basketball coach under Coach Don Cothran for 4 seasons during 1975 to 1978 at MCHS before becoming the head coach. Her junior varsity teams were undefeated in 3 of those 4 years. Perry served as a member of the Marshall County Board of Education from 1998 to 2020, and she also served as a member of the Athletic Foundation.
wouldn't be right for me not to introduce you. Another one of our fine students here at the high school that is helping in our presentations tonight, Daniel Walker. Daniel.
Our next inductee is Bill Murphy. Bill Murphy is remembered as an athletic photographer for Marshall County sports teams. He made pictures of all athletes of all ages and sports. For many years, Bill made the official team and individual pictures for all high school sports. You would often see him on the sidelines of any Marshall County event capturing exciting action shots. Bill loved Marshall County, and especially Marshall athletics. He was able to capture so many memories for so many families. Thank you.
It's a great honor and a great privilege for me and my family to accept this induction of my husband, Bill Murphy, into the Marshall County Athletic Hall of Fame. Bill loved photography. He always had, but he never loved it more than he did when he became the athletic photographer for Marshall County sports. As he took those group pictures, those individual shots, and those good old action sideline shots that he liked so much, as he did that, he grew to really appreciate the young women and men in the athletic programs and their dedication to the program. He saw their dedication to their sports. He watched their ability to use teamwork as one of the best things they had. And he always felt that those athletes were doing all they could to represent their school in the best possible way to their ability. You know, Bill was a people person, and he really respected the athletes. And when we went in, almost anywhere in Marshall County, someone would probably come up to him and say, "You made my picture once," or maybe my child's picture, or maybe my grandchild's picture. And he just really appreciated the fans. You know, as he traveled often to the out-of-town games and the things that they did, and he always appreciated the fans that supported them at home and in all those away games. And he talked often about how close he was to the athletes. And, you know, when we would go to Walmart, it wouldn't surprise me if a little child came up and said, "Look, it's the picture man, it's the picture man." And some of the older athletes would come up and shake his hand and say, "How are you doing, Mr. Bill?" And even some of the graduates, you know, from years past that he had known would come up and talk to him, and he'd ask him, "Well, what are you doing these days?" So he developed a real respect and love of the athletes. And it was really his pleasure to be able to be a part of the Marshall County sports. And in those last years when he was no longer able to make the pictures, we reminisce so often about how many people were a part of what is Marshall County athletics, and there's so many people to thank. And they were all kind to Bill and helped him as he tried to organize these pictures and things. The coaches, the teachers, the principals, the administrators, and of course all those wonderful Marshall County fans that were always behind that team, the cheerleaders, the families that got the kids to the practices and things. So it has been a great pleasure in his life, and I want to thank everyone who had any part in this contribution, to honor this contribution to Bill, because it means so much. Thank you so much.
When I began writing my book in the summer of 2023, I think that the thing that was a common theme for me was gratitude, and part of the gratitude of this journey of 30 some odd years now has been to meet and to know and to be associated with so many wonderful people. And Donna Perry and Bill Murphy are two of the finest people I've ever known in my life. And wish Bill was here with us. Wish he was here tonight. He was such a wonderful gentleman. Of course, Donna's a big reason why this foundation and this Hall of Fame exists. We're going to move on. I believe next inductee is going to be the coach. Is that right? Team. Oh, okay. I like this team. I like this team a lot. They're one of my favorites. I love these guys. And I'm going to speak on their behalf here in a minute. If they have anything to say, a couple of them asked me to say a few things about them, and I'll be glad to do that here in a moment. The student that's getting ready to present them, I just hired him at the radio station. And when you get to hear him talk, and of course I feel way underdressed with these guys up here, but when you hear him talk, you're going to say, that guy's good. He's got a lot of talent. You're going to know why I hired him. But Ethan Morgan is our next presenter. Ethan.
That was a fine introduction. I got big shoes to fill, apparently. But our next inductee is the 1998 Marshall County High School football team, coached by Jim Shelton. The 1998 Marshall County team holds the program record for the most wins in a season with 11. They also hold the record for the longest winning streak in program history at 10 games, and were undefeated in district play on their way to the 4A District 1 championship. The regular season was capped off with a thrilling 42-21 triple overtime win at Henderson County to claim the district title. The Marshalls matched program record for the most wins in a regular season with 9 and reached as high as number 3 in that season's 4A state rankings. They marked just the second appearance for Marshall County football team in a regional championship game and gave the eventual 2A state championship Caldwell County their only loss of the season, and recorded Marshall County's first varsity football victory over Paducah Tillman. Any players and coaches or anybody affiliated, please come up to the front.
I love this team, man. I tell you what, these guys, they were so much fun. Gosh, it's been 27 years ago. Most of them look like they could still play. Bobby and Tony, Justin, Jared, they all look like they could still play. That team, I think I even said it in the book, I'm not sure that they even knew. I'm not sure that the coaches knew. I think they knew they had a pretty good opportunity to have something special that year, but I don't know that anybody was really cognizant at the beginning of what it was going to become. And we started out with that win over Paducah Tillman. The Marshall County Tillman series had been so lopsided for so many years that they finally quit playing and didn't play again for 14 or 15 years. And by the time the 98 season rolled around, Marshall County was actually the better program, but had not played Tillman in a long time. Tillman had a guy by the name of George Wilson, who is one of the great football players to ever come out of this area. He was an all-SEC player at Arkansas and played a long, long time in the NFL. Tillman scored once that night, and that was a touchdown catch that he made as Marshall County won that game. They won over Caldwell County. That was Caldwell County's only blemish on their march to the 2A state championship. They didn't just beat them, they beat them 35-7. And Bobby, when Bobby and Justin were on that OVC championship team in 2002 at Murray State, Stuart Childress was a quarterback. Stuart had been the quarterback at Caldwell County. I think Bobby used to put in his locker pretty regularly, Marshall County 1998 2A state champs. That Henderson County game, I called over 300, well over 300 Marshall County football games. I called a ton of Murray State games for TV. I did the game that Casey Brockman and Jimmy Garoppolo set all kinds of NCAA records when Murray State played Eastern Illinois many years ago. But the greatest football game that I ever called was that 1998 game. And I don't know if you can envision the crowd. It was at Henderson County, and people lined up 3 and 4 deep around the track, and the excitement, and then going to the first overtime. And at the first overtime, Henderson County scored, and then Marshall County scored, and there was a timeout, and we were going to go for 2. The Marshalls were going to go for 2 and win the game right there. And somebody had a false start. Can't remember exactly who it was. I don't. You guys may want to give him up. I don't know. But obviously, after a 5-yard penalty, they weren't going to go for 2. So they kicked. We went to a second overtime. Those teams were so good. Those 2 teams were top 5 in the state in 4A, the state's largest classification. Those 2 teams were so good that in the overtime rules in high school football, 4 downs from the 10-yard line, they weren't going to stop us. We weren't going to stop them. They were great, great teams. And Henderson County's kicker had never missed. Henderson, one of the things that makes them a great football program is their kickers, or their kicking program. They always have great place kickers. And he had not missed an extra point, not just that year, but for his entire career. And he missed an extra point. Marshall County scored. Did we score on the 4th down in the 3rd overtime? Was that Gary running, or was that the pass to? It was Gary running. Gary Rockney had one of the great individual performances I've ever seen. He was responsible, or had a hand in all 6 touchdowns, 3 passing, 3 rushing. And then Justin Locke came on and kicked the extra point that gave Marshall County a district championship. Defeated Shelby County in the opening round. Tony Bevel had a touchdown run to put us over the top against North Hardin, 10-7 on November the 13th, 1998, Friday the 13th. I remember Jim Shelton down on the field in his post-game interview said, everybody said Friday the 13th unlucky, it's lucky for us. But I love this team. They're a bunch of great guys, and they've done some things that haven't been equaled here as far as this football program. I know Randy's here. Randy, get up here. Come on, Randy. Yeah, why did you come up here to start? Randy was one of the, what a staff. You had Jim Shelton, you had Tom Shelton, Randy Stafford, Tracy Cleaver, Paul Brewster. I know I'm probably leaving some folks out. Any other coaches that, of course, Jim and Tom and Paul aren't with us anymore. Hold on, Randy, before you get started. There are no short stories with Randy. God, I love you, Randy, but I got to tell a Randy Stafford story. I think it was that year. I'd been out to interview Jim or get a scouting report or something before one of the games that season, and we were sitting around in the coach's office, and I was 27 years old. I was a kid, and those were so meaningful to me, those guys, Jim Shelton, all of those guys. Randy started telling a story, and there are no short stories from Randy. Well, at some point, Tracy and Paul and Tom and all of them, Jim, started having their own conversations apart from Randy's story. And I was left to be the only one listening to Randy. Well, Randy at some point figured out that none of the rest of the coaches were listening, and he stopped. Well, by now, I'm interested to know what the conclusion, the outcome of this story is going to be. And I said, well, what happened next? And I hear this voice from the other side of the room. Good God, Waters, we're going to be here another 20 minutes to hear the end of this story. Randy, the microphone is yours now.
I promise I'm not going to tell a story. I just want to say it's been a tough night. Jim's not here. Paul Brewster's not here. Tom Shelton's not here. Tracy wasn't able to be here. It feels pretty lonely other than these guys behind me. But I do want to, if you'll forgive me, I'll try to say what I think Jim Shelton would have said. And Jim was the heart of our team. The rest of us fit in, and we were a part of it, and we were proud to be a part of it. But Jim really felt that this team, among all the teams that we coached, and we had one in '95 that made the Hall of Fame, and of course went to the Final Four and played such a memorable game here at home against St. X, that this team behind me played the hardest of any team we ever coached. And I was fortunate to coach with Jim for 25 years until the day we resigned. And these guys might not, we were talking among ourselves earlier, might not have had as much overall talent as the '95 team, but they played harder. They played hard every night. And that's all you can ask of anyone. They had great talent, but as a team overall, they played the hardest of any team that I ever saw play here. Thank you.
I'll just say this. I said this a few years back, but to all the teachers and the coaches and everybody that's involved with the entire system and all this program, the time that you spend away from your families, we don't appreciate it when we're 16 and we're out here coming out to play ball, but we do now. Like you helped develop all of these guys, and we're relatively productive members of society now. But in all seriousness, guys like Randy Stafford, I think we owe him another round of applause. This man has changed a lot of lives over the years.
I think Jared has a lot of the, they're not the best quality. Of course, everything was still on old videotape back then, but a lot of the old game tapes are up on YouTube now from some of that season. But what a ride it was. All right, moving along, our next inductee will be our coach for 2025.
So our next inductee is Coach Steve Sun. Stephen Sun was the first Marshall County High School boys soccer coach from 1983 to 1989. During that time, he amassed a coaching record of 65, 55, and 5. He led the school to its first regional championship in 1988, followed by a second regional championship in 1989, and the school's first ever Final Four appearance that same year. The success of those teams in 1988 and 1989 laid the foundation for one of the most successful programs in Kentucky. He also served as the public dress announcer for both Marshall County basketball and Marshall County football games in the 80s and early 90s. He continued to sing the national anthem regularly at these games after giving up his PA duties. He coached youth basketball, baseball, and soccer with the local associations from 1989 to 1999 through the Marshall County Soccer Association and Marshall County Little League basketball program. He was also instrumental in the development of the current soccer complex at MCHS, known as one of the best in the state. Please give a round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of our family, we are deeply honored to be here tonight. I had a few remarks prepared, but after watching Coach Stafford and Miss Murphy get up here and talk off the cuff, I felt I'd look kind of silly reading off a piece of paper, so I'm just going to wing it like they did. You know, my dad, when he started coaching soccer back in 1983, he'd be the first to tell you he knew absolutely nothing about the game. And I see Joel Barrett laughing, and he would agree with that too. But he had a love for the kids, and he had a love and a passion for developing kids into young men. And that was something that carried through beyond his days of teaching and coaching. I can remember even when I would come back and visit after we had moved away, we'd be out in public, we'd see a former student or a former player, and many of them would still call him Coach Son, and that was always quite endearing to him. If I had to think of one story about my time when Dad was a coach, it would be the 1989 state Final Four game. Sorry, Andy, I'm dredging up old memories for you. But my dad would always tell the story about that game because he would always tell it pretty much the same way, that we had at least 3, if not 4 goals called back for offsides because of terrible officiating. And if you knew my dad, he never would criticize officials. And they would also speak to the fact that Montgomery County scored on a very crappy goal as well. And that game stuck with him for 25, 30 years. And I think, thinking back on that, not because it was his last game as a head coach, and not really because it was a loss, because he'd be the first to tell you that wins and losses didn't always mean everything. But what mattered to him was that it was a loss for those players. Those players were really what meant something to him. And I think what hurt him more than anything was seeing the season end the way that it did for those kids. I can remember as a kid, I was always that little kid that would sit in the press box of the football game, sit at the scorer's table of the basketball games and watch my dad do the announcements, sing the national anthem, those are a lifetime of memories for me as I think back. Again, such an honor. Thank you to the foundation, to the administration. We're deeply humble honored, and we know Dad would be very appreciative of this. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Coach Son's son. I've spent many years explaining that I'm not the son of someone named Martin and throwing away South Korean airline credit card offers. But I can tell you that I'm very proud to stand up here as Coach Son's son. And I know that he would be very honored to be here tonight and to receive this. In January 2020, our dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And surprisingly, you forget a lot, but he never met a stranger. And we could be, like I live in St. Louis, John David and his family lives in New Hampshire, so he could be anywhere, and he would go up to someone and he would say, "Hi, my name is Steve's son. I taught at Marshall County High School. Did I have you in class?" It's like, "Dad, no." So we always thought that was just an oddity, but to be honest, I just think that being here at Marshall County has meant so much to him. And as we hear other people tell the stories and hearing the impersonation of Coach Shelton, which I thought a lot of as well, this is a special place. And I know that if he was standing here today, this would be one of the biggest honors he's had. So thank you very much.
Coach Son, just another wonderful, wonderful gentleman. Moving on to the individual player category. We had a speaker earlier tonight that's a former Lady Marshal that's a member of this Hall of Fame, and we're getting ready to induct another one of the greatest players in the history of this illustrious program here this evening.
Our next inductee is Nolan Nichols. Nolan.
All right, we got out of order, so bear with us, if you will.
All right, next we have Shay Shepard-Dukic. Shay played volleyball at Marshall County High School for 5 years and at Bethel University for 4 years. At MCHS, she averaged the following stats: assists 14, digs 12, kills 9, aces 2, and blocks 4. While at Bethel, she held the record for the most assists per match at 19. At MCHS, she was varsity MVP, 2-time District 4 All-District Tournament Team, 2-time District 4 All-District Tournament Team MVP, 2-time Region 1 All-Region Tournament Team, 2-time Region 1 Player of the Year, and All-State Honorable Mention.
Got my helper here. I am going to read off my paper. So, good evening, everyone. I have to admit I'm much more comfortable on a volleyball court than down here below you right now. So tonight is special, though, and I'm truly honored to be here. From the time I was 7, stepping onto a quarter field just felt like home. The rhythm of the game, the energy, the competition, it just made sense to me. Sports brought a feeling of comfort and confidence that I didn't always find in other areas of my life. I'm grateful that God guided me to the right place where I could grow and belong. Coach Bobby Love, thank you for believing in me. You pushed me, challenged me, and taught me life lessons that went way beyond the court. Most of them were good life lessons, a few questionable ones, but really thank you for everything. Coach Chris Presswood and Coach Michael Tabscott, y'all built on that foundation and continue to push me both mentally and physically. Y'all put us on the map as true competitors in the volleyball world. You also fueled my love for the game. Your impact on my life is something I strive to pass on to my own children, and I really can't thank y'all enough. To my sister and my teammates, thank you for the wins, the losses, the bus rides, and the endless laughter that made it all unforgettable. To my family, y'all cheered the loudest, encouraged me the most, and always reminded me what really mattered. Mom, I always heard you cheering in the stands, even when I pretended not to. I hope I've made you proud. So tonight, I simply want to say thank you for the honor, the support, and the memories that will always stay with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Shay, and congratulations. Led us astray there for a moment. I've been doing that for 54 years, leading myself astray. Now, I think I'm on the right path again. Our next inductee, again, a great Marshall County Lady Marshall basketball player.
Our next inductee is Bridget Howard. Bridget was one of the most exciting players to ever play for the Lady Marshalls, where she is number 5 on the career scoring list for the Lady Marshalls with 1,713 points. She was honorable mention All-State in 1994 and first team All-State in 1995, and was a starter on the Lady Marshalls 1994 regional championship team.
Give me a second. I want to thank God for the ability to play ball, for always watching over me, keeping me from any serious injuries in order to play. I want to thank the committee for everything that you do. I want to thank my family for being here. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for always being there supporting me, cheering me on. Thank you, Dad, for having me watch the Pistol Pete Maravich tapes and then would have me practice my skills doing everything he did. I love you both. Thank you to Ronna Poe, who helped me with my dribbling skills as a kid. Having me wear the glasses that had a plastic piece that stuck out under my eyes, preventing me from looking down at my dribble. Thank you, Ronna. Thank you, Coach Howard Beth, who is the greatest of all time.
for pushing me past my limits to be the best I can be, for teaching me and always encouraging me. I love you both, Coach Beth and Ann. I want to thank my teammates. Because of them and how great ball players they were, they helped make me look good. Last but definitely not least, I want to thank the Crazy Ladies for all they did, always making me feel special, showing up to support and cheer me on. The Crazy Ladies made my time as a Lady Marshal so much fun, so thank you. I am very humbled and honored. Thank you.
Congratulations, Bridget. And moving on, we've got one of the great multi-sport athletes to ever walk these halls here at Marshall County High School. And having done the football and basketball games during that time, it was always exciting with this guy.
Our next inductee is Daniel Ard, a dual sport star for Marshall County basketball and football. He ranks number 1 for both career points with 2,185 and rebounds, 1,080, in program history for the Marshalls. He also tallied over 2,000 passing yards and over 1,300 rushing yards during his senior football season, with a combined 40 touchdowns, while also being named All-State in both football and basketball. During his senior season, the football Marshalls matched the program record for most wins in a regular season with 9. He was an all-purchase member in basketball and All-West Kentucky Conference in football. He scored a career-high 47 points, and at the time, the program record, in a win over Ohio County in his senior season. He was a starter on 3 consecutive district championship teams for the Marshalls and went on to play basketball and football at Murray State.
All right, I'm not going to cry, so I'm going to try to keep this light. And I do have to read off of this. So I just want to start with thanking Miss English and everyone here at Marshall County High School. When she called and told me that I was being inducted, I had to let her know that she had made a mistake, that it had not been 20 years since I graduated high school. Then I did some math. I'm 38 now. I was 18 when I graduated, and that did check out. I could barely hear over the sound and the realization that I'm officially old. To make matters worse, later that night, I was telling my 7-year-old son, Jordan, about the accomplishment. I wanted to have a proud parenting moment, so I asked him if he wanted to see his dad play football, and he said yes. And I said, let me grab the DVD, and he looked at me dead serious and said, what's a DVD? So I knew that there was no going back after that. But all jokes aside, this is a great honor, and I'm incredibly proud to be here tonight. I wouldn't be here tonight without the head basketball coach, Sawyer Donahue, in the back. I was able to lead Marshall County as the all-time leader in rebounding and all-time leader in scoring, and I would not have been able to do that without Sawyer Donahue. So thank you. I'm not gonna cry. All right, I grew up watching Marshall County sports. Some of my earliest memories were watching Dan Lange dunk in warm-ups, my brother play on Friday nights, and the freezing cold, legendary game of the 1998 team played at Nelson County. To me, those guys were larger than life. Seeing my brother in that 1998 team walk off the field that night, I knew I wanted to be the greatest athlete in Marshall County history. And to this day, I think I'm still terrified of Coach Jim Shelton. Football brought some highs and lows, more lows than anything. I played through the 1-9 season where we lost 77-0 to Henderson. And 2 years later, we were 9-2 and ranked number 2 in the state. A piece of me will always live on that football field, and I still remember walking off of it after the Owensboro Apollo loss. And of course, one memory I'll never forget is the Mayfield game my senior year. As a kid, I had always been told that Marshall County does not beat Mayfield in football. And in 2006, I think it had only happened like once in 15 years. I circled that date on my calendar, and I was ready for the moment. So ready, in fact, that when we took the field that night, the crowd was so loud, I forgot the play. I panicked, and we lined up in the wrong formation. We called the wrong play, and that somehow led to the famous 80-yard touchdown on the first play of the game that gave us a victory that night. When I went to the sidelines, Coach Lawson gave me some words of wisdom I'll never forget when he looked at me and said, "You're a dumbass." There's been plenty of adversity in my sports career. Playing college football, I broke both my collarbones, I broke my fingers, and I lost several teeth. In high school, in a game against Murray High, I was injured so badly I had to have 20 stitches in my face, and I had to have surgery and a plate and screws put in my left hand. But none of this compares to the biggest obstacle I've ever had to face in my sports career. And of course, I'm talking about the time I tripped through the hula hoop during my 8th grade Jamboree introductions. But that's why I love sports, the teams, the scars, my metal hand, and the stories. I want to thank the incredible coaches I had here at Marshall County, Coach Gus Gillespie, Mike Lawson, and Doug Lyles. All were great mentors. Coach Gillespie made me a better person, not just a better basketball player. Although I fell short of my dream of becoming a professional athlete, basketball and football gave me experiences and travel opportunities I never imagined. It gave me lifelong friends as well. 2 of them are here tonight, Nico Yanko and Stephen Huff. We've come a long way from being dumb 19-year-old kids. We're both now dads with 2 kids each. Nico has a successful career as a director of athletics at Murray State, and Huff is a successful business owner in Cincinnati. We've come a long way from career-ending mud puddles and getting yelled at by Nico's dad all the time. So I thank you guys both for being here. All right, lastly. I also want to thank my aunt and uncle, Eve and Andy Maurer, for being here tonight, right here. You both watched my brother and I play sports. You did everything you could to help out. You painted fences on windy days. You decorated for the games. I know you love me because I have a photo of you both wearing a white airbrush sweatshirt with orange tassels that my mom made you wear to the games. You were always our #1 fans, and I thank you. And finally, to my parents, I understand the sacrifices that you had to make so I could play sports. Playing varsity as an 8th grader meant being dropped off all over Marshall County. This was a logistical nightmare. Money was tight for us, but I never missed an AAU tournament. All right, not gonna do it. Every summer, you found a way to get me to Fort Wayne, Houston, Indianapolis, Atlanta, Orlando, Louisville, Virginia Beach, and even Italy. You went to local businesses to raise money. You asked for donations, and you did whatever it took. I hope I made you proud. I can't wait to one day bring my 7-year-old son, Jordan, here so I can show him what a washed-up has-been his dad was in high school. To this school, this community, my friends, and my family, I truly thank you, and this is an honor. Thank you.
I just learned something. That touchdown pass to open the game against Mayfield in 2005, y'all sold that well. I didn't realize that that was a broken play. And I'll be honest with you, I talked to Mike Lawson about 2 weeks ago. I talked to, like I do a lot of the former coaches here, I talk to them regularly. And I was talking to Mike, and Mike in all these years has always made it sound like that was the plan right off the bat. That you were going to drop back and throw to Josh Moreland and for an 80-yard touchdown to start a shutout of Mayfield. By the way, you shorted yourself 1 win your sophomore year, right? Was that, no, 02. That was 2-8, not 1-9. Don't short yourself. Because I remember we were driving home from that Henderson County game, and whew, Larry Krause was my longtime game analyst, and of course Larry had helped build this football program and was largely responsible for the on-campus stadium being built. And Larry had guided Marshall County to their first ever winning season, 7-4, 9-1, and in the late 70s. And we were driving home from Henderson County, and we knew we would not win the next week. So we were 2-7, and I just happened to say, well, 2-8, that's going to be the worst record in program history. And this voice from the back of the van said, not quite. He had a 1-9 year during his time. But we're going to keep it in the family with another great multi-sport athlete here at the high school.
All right, our next inductee is Justin Ard. Justin was a dual sports star for the Marshalls in football and basketball. He was a 2-way starter on the line for the 1998 District Championship Marshalls. He was an All-State in football and named the West Kentucky Conference Player of the Year in 2000. He was also member of 2 district championship and regional runner-up team for Marshalls basketball. Ard was a starter on Murray State's last conference championship football team in 2002 and was named first team All-OVC as a lineman at Murray State in 2004.
All right, and thanks to my little brother, I'm now crying. So we're good. Guys, I truly want to start off by just saying thank you for everything in Marshall County and all the people that allowed us to be here. And just looking back, I thought about what I wanted to say and like all the stories we could tell and everything. And like I have to be the luckiest person in the room because not only do I get to go in with my teammates, and I am going to start crying, and lifelong friends. So I look around the room, and these aren't only people, because in 1998, I was only a sophomore. Okay? And that team was excellent. Okay? So we're talking about, the only thing I remember about Henderson County is I've never seen that many people in a football stadium before in my life. Okay? It was amazing. Okay? So a lot of my great friends and family and everything, my lifelong friends are here. We were all sophomores. Okay? And we were great football players and worked our tails off. Okay? So as a team, we never got beat by Tillman. Okay? Never once lost to Tillman. That was the first time we'd ever done that. 3 straight years worth of it. Okay? So all of those teams were fantastic. Okay? So I'm going to start by talking about teammates and how important they are to us. And then Coach Shelton. All right? Like that. So I'll talk about Jim Shelton for a minute because I was absolutely terrified of that man. Like spent the entire time scared to death he was going to talk to me. And like you avoided him when you walked down the hallways. And at the end of my junior year of high school, he called me into his office. And this is like after spring practice. And I was like, oh my goodness, like we're going to speak face to face for the first, like this is going to be terrible. I may not make it through this. Okay. And he sat me down and he handed me a stack of letters from colleges. Okay. They were all recruitment letters. Okay. And he started talking to me, and he's like, there's a real shot at this. Like, you are a great athlete, like that, and I'm going to work my tail off, and we're going to get through this, and we need to figure out how to do this and get together. And I was like, oh, my goodness, this guy's a human. Okay? And from then on, like that, and I owe that staff so much, okay? And think about it all the time, like that, and every day. And we were his last, like my senior year was his last team, okay? And he retired after that. Okay? And I owe so much of what I was able to do and become to that staff and those players, and I am so thankful for that. Okay? Yes, I played basketball. Okay? I was an average basketball player. It was I had loved it. But okay, that staff, Coach Lyles, okay, and Coach Leeper, okay, and Coach Buchanan, okay, I loved every second of it. I always joke that basketball might have been my first love, but God gave me a football body. Okay? So when I got the call that they were going to induct me like that, they wanted relevant statistics. Okay, well, I was an offensive lineman. There's not any relevant statistics on the board, folks. Like I was like, he ate 37 cheeseburgers in one sitting. He could move the back of your car. So I called my little brother and was like, can I borrow some of yours? Like how many points can you give up that like you still look good and give me some? Okay. Okay. By the way, I have the 1998 highlight tape on cassette in my basement and went to watch it. And while Daniel's kids don't know what a DVD is, my kids don't know what a VCR is. Okay, and we've gone through that. Okay. So, and I will finish with this. And I'm going to talk. I could run stories and stories, guys. Like I drove my kids by the Pelican today. How many people want to laugh about that? It's the only place open after 10 p.m., I think, like that. And we ate there every single Friday night after every single football game, no matter what. Okay? Just amazing memories like that. And like to the parents and the teachers and everything else like that. And then I got to thank my parents like that and my family in general. Okay? And that's when I started crying because like I have children. I've been through it. I know like that. I am a doctor. I have my own practice. I have everything with that. And I didn't see it then, and I barely see it now, but I have no idea how you guys did it. I don't. Okay? There's not enough time. There's not enough money. There's not enough anything in the world. And like I said, I get to go in tonight with a team that I was a part of, with my brother, that we spent so many years fighting back and forth on everything. Okay? And it's just a wonderful time. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys.
Don't let him fool you. He was a good basketball player, too. Great footwork. Great footwork and soft hands and just a great athlete. Those times, getting to relive, talking about this 98 team, and just that period of Marshall County football from the mid-90s for that 5, 6, 7-year period, some of the greatest times that I've ever had with those coaches, with those players, the guys that worked with me. And it's been real special for me to kind of relive some of that with you guys here tonight. This is a guy who was also a tremendous football player, and like some of the others that we've honored here tonight, went on and played at the next level at Murray State. And I'm looking forward to seeing this guy inducted as well.
Our last inductee is Nolan Nichols. Nolan gained over 2,000 career rushing yards and had a combined 20 career touchdowns. An all-purpose player, he also led the team in total tackles in both his junior and senior seasons. Most notably, his senior season was one of the best individual seasons in program history, as Nichols almost had 1,200 rushing yards, intercepted 3 passes, recovered 3 fumbles, recorded 100 tackles, and scored 14 total touchdowns. He went on to play at Murray State, where he was a starter for the Racers.
Man, it's good to hear Jeff's voice again. I used to, after all the games, even at Murray and Marshall, I would go back and listen to play-by-play plays. I just love his voice. It's great. Well, Brockman, I didn't get up here because of tennis, wherever you're at, that's for sure. But first off, I just want to thank God for this opportunity. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to thank my coaches, my family, everybody. It's crazy to be up here for me because I grew up watching guys like Daniel, and I almost idolized them. I want to be exactly like them. So for the younger people in the crowd, if there's somebody out there that you look up to, show up every day so you can become that person, if not be better. So I appreciate you, Daniel. Even though you don't know me, you still set an example. Yeah, you guys are probably up here like, didn't Nolan's team only win 1 game? Does he really need to be up there? But it's okay. When we did win, we celebrated like a Super Bowl. Lots of Gatorade baths, everything like that. But I wouldn't trade my time here for anything, honestly. Marshall County football taught me everything. Taught me how to not quit, how to keep going, how to never give up. I got a competitor spirit through and through. Anybody that knew me knew that about me. I made sure that every time I ran the ball, I made at least three to four people try to tackle me. I wouldn't go down the first hit. I still feel that way in life. I wake up every day. These lessons that I've learned from these coaches and these people, it's really set the example for me in life. To the younger Marshalls out there, enjoy every moment. Don't take a single practice, a single game, or even a single bus ride for granted. And don't listen to Allen Iverson. Practice does matter. Work hard when nobody's watching, because that's what builds character. That will always take you further than talent will in life. Always work hard. But I know this is the last speech, so we're going to keep it short and sweet. This is such an honor. I want to thank my family right there. I love each and every one of you. I want to thank my coaches, anybody that came out to support this, Jeff. I do want to tell a quick Jim Shelton story, because I actually had him too, weirdly, because I'm probably the youngest guy here. But in middle school, we just got our butts kicked by Lone Oak, and everybody's on the knee. He starts, just ripping into us, and he stops, and he said, "Hold on, look up there." And we all turned around, and he's like, "That's a double rainbow. You'll probably never see one of those again." And I'm like, "What?" And then we all look, and he's like, "Don't look, you bunch of sissies. Now look at me. You guys just lost a game. You're worried about a rainbow?" So, yeah. So that's I think as a middle schooler, you hear that, you're a little shook up. But seriously, guys, thank you. This is such an honor. It's been a great night, and just appreciate everybody here.
I always admired Nolan that year because if we'd had a dozen Nolan Nichols on that team, we'd have been pretty damn good. He played every game that year like it was a district championship game. And even when things were not going well, and overall they didn't go well that year for the season as a whole, but he played every snap, every game, like there was a championship on the line, and he carried that over to Murray State. Funny story, we were at the UK Murray State game when Nolan was playing. We were in Lexington. Family and I, we all had on our UK attire. We're big UK fans. And I noticed a lot of people turning around and looking at me, very funny, being decked out in UK blue when Nolan Nichols ran the ball and had worked on special teams and all of that. And I was up cheering for Murray State. But it was fun to watch him as it was these other guys that went on and played at the next level. Vicki, Mike, have I forgotten anything? Any other special thank yous we need to do other than to thank all of you for being here tonight? Congratulations again to all of the inductees, and look forward to a great opener to the football season tomorrow night. The inductees will be honored at halftime, right, of the football game, the Hall of Fame game when the Marshals host Crittenden County tomorrow night. Also, I heard a lot of the people coming in talking about how much the high school has changed since they were here. If you haven't been down in the lower lobby of the gym, they've done some remodeling, some renovation down there. All of the Hall of Fame plaques from the previous classes are on display in those various cases down there. So if you want to swing by the lower lobby of the gym, Mike said that's no problem. You can get an idea of where your plaque will be going forward permanently here at Marshall County High School. Thank all of you for being here, and hope you have a safe drive home. Thank you.